Hi pet lovers, welcome back to Gina's Grooming channel and welcome back to our Poodle Head workshop. This is part 2 where we are going to be carving out a pet poodle top knot with our 13-year-old girl Rosie here. She's very patient with us. So we're gonna go through and go step by step because this is a workshop. We have done some videos on poodle top knots and such, but with this workshop, we're gonna go step by step, show you exactly what you need to do to be able to carve out a very pretty poodle top knot. And guys, if you missed our part one of this workshop was where we shave a poodle face. So if you guys do not know how to shave a poodle face or need a refresher, make sure, I'll put down the link below, but make sure to find that video, part 1 of our Poodle Head workshop, shaving a poodle face or giving a clean face. And thank you so much for joining us on our part 2, carving out a top knot. Now guys, I'm gonna be carving out a pretty standard rounded dome top knot that you'll see on a lot of pets. I do wanna mention that there are so many different styles for poodles, for show poodles, for pet poodles. So let's take a moment to review the different types of shapes and the different types of styles that are very common for poodles. Poodle styling is one of the most creative corners of the grooming industry, and we know why. The beauty of this breed and their tight curly coats create the potential for a myriad of styling options. Let's go through some common clips while paying particular attention to how these styles affect the top knot. We've got our most famous clip, the Continental, used in show rings for our adult competitors, where the top knot is pulled up and banded and then scissored into the body for a most dramatic effect. Now, heading over to our pets, some common styles are the lamb clip, the sporting clip, the Miami clip, and the puppy clip. Fortunately, most pet poodle styling, especially when it comes to carving out a head shape, will fall into these common styles. But let's get a little poodle crazy and finish our list of known poodle haircuts. Ready? We've got the retriever clip, the town and country, the New Yorker, the Dutch clip, the Chicago Dutch, and the Pittsburgh Dutch, the crisscross Dutch, the pajama Dutch, the sweetheart, the Desi, the Y, and the swirl, the English puppy lion, the Scandinavian puppy lion, the German clip, the model or mouton, the fox or mod fox, the Saint-Tropez, the European T-clip, and the Zazu. And in case you want detailed information on any and all of these clips, I'll share a link to one of the best references on the subject written by legendary Shirley Calstone. Now that you can see all the different variations that exist for poodle top knot styles, we are going to pretty much focus on the standard one, but there are some rules of thumb that I want to talk about. First, let's talk about equipment, and then let's talk about proportions. In order to carve out a top knot, now this is really art and skill in the grooming world. It takes a little bit of practice, actually sometimes a lot of practice, to get it down because we are going to be scissoring, using shears of different lengths to actually manually carve out a shape on top of a poodle's head. Now the obvious question is, why can't we just use a clipper with a guide comb, just go through and get that done? Now we do have a video where we do kind of a shortcut and we use a clipper on an older dog. We got a really short top knot. It looks cute, but it's not quite the proportion we're looking for when we want to do that rounded dome on our poodles. So let's go through some of the equipment that we need when we're carving out this top knot. I have various lengths of scissors. Typically for small poodles, all I would need for my curved shears or scissors are my safety scissors. These are with a ball tip and they're a little smaller and lighter. I also like to employ just a general basic 7.5 or 8.5 inch shear. I've got a few of these that I can use. Here's an 8.5 shear that is from Buttercut, also very fine. So I like to incorporate a fine shear. And then for my standard poodles, my big babies that I work on, I usually include my big boys, my 10.5 inch shears, because there are some parts of that top knot that I want to work on with a really big pair of shears, and I'll show you how I do that. I also want to mention, even though in grooming I don't use straight shears very often, straight shears, okay, so these are the ones that are not curved, do really well when setting patterns, hi sweetheart, along the sides of the face, because we're going to be following some of the anatomy of a dog's face, their bone structure, in order to be able to set the right dome on top of their head. So having a straight pair of scissors also helps with blending the back line. So we'll talk about how to use straight scissors. And also want to mention that for a little bit of blending, I also use my thinners. So this is a kind of a big project. I've got a lot of shears ready to be used. I've got my thinning shears blenders. I've got straight shears. Okay, the one thing I won't be using in this capacity is my clippers. This is all going to be manual scissor work. So get ready, do some practice, but once you get it down, you're going to have great results. Now guys, really quickly about using shears, especially when carving out shapes on curly coated dogs, we are going to be only using our thumb, and we're going to be keeping it in one place and then moving it. Okay, we're not going to be bouncing it. This is called bouncing your scissors. So a lot of people, when they start scissoring, they're going to take the scissor and just kind of cut and cut. That's not what we're looking for. For shaping, okay, and I left a lot of a neck piece to kind of show you guys work with, is we're going to be learning how to just manipulate our thumb and cut away the parts that we don't want to be there. So this is an art, it is a skill. The best way I can show you to practice is under a table. Put one side, the non-moving blade, and practice your thumb. This is something that all grooming students learn how to do. And until you get this down, and until you get your hand to be steady and move this way instead of this way, that's gonna make holes in the coat. You're not gonna get that smooth finish. So don't lose faith. Keep practicing. Make sure you just move that thumb. Make sure you don't bounce, and you're going to do great. Okay, guys, I'm going to ask to zoom in. I'm going to show you guys some proportions of what we're looking for in shape. Before I show you the actual mathematical proportions that we're going to be working with, there's also other things that come into play, such as the texture of the dog's coat. So the height of that top knot is not only going to be affected by some proportions that I'm going to show you in a second, but also the consistency and texture of the hair, because what we want it to do is stand up. If it is splitting in the middle or drooping or falling, we have to take it shorter, even breaking some of the proportions that I'm going to talk to you guys about. And just know, as dogs age, the texture of their hair changes. Also, depending on the breeder, the texture can change. So some coats are really springy and tight, and you can make them shaped like a little snowball. And then some are a little more silky and kind of fall. And for those, you're going to be choosing a little bit of a shorter top knot option. So let's take a look at the proportions that we're going to be doing to choose how high we want to set our top knot. Okay, guys, I know Rosie's had a long day, baby. I know, we're almost there. Okay, so you can see from the corner of her eyes, okay, corner to corner, I can measure this, okay, and here's where I am. This is basically going to be the desired length of that top knot, okay, ideally. Okay, with Rosie, her hair, as she's been older, is flopping a little bit, right? But I let it grow really long so you can kind of see that this proportion is supposed to be equal to this proportion. And that's kind of how we set our proportions when doing a top knot. All right, guys, the other thing you really need to have is a comb. I'm going to use the other comb. This one I just brought out. Unfortunately, this guy's been losing teeth. But we want to make sure that we are fluffing up the coat as we are scissoring. Okay, so in addition to all our scissors, our shears, our curves and our straights and our blenders, we also want to make sure that we have a comb to keep fluffing this up. Okay, so now that we've decided on a shape for Rosie, I keep her a little bit fluffier on the sides because I don't shave her feet. She has a little more of a bare look now that she has full feet. I want to let you guys know is that I start all my top knot work at the edges. So I do my eyes, I'll do my side transitions, and I'll do the back, and I'll explain to you guys why I left so much of this when we get there. So starting with the eyes, guys, we have videos about working really close with eyes, especially with poodles. I want to get all of this work done first, everything that's just above the eyeball. We're going to reference exactly all of this work, okay? And there's videos that reference how to work around and very closely around an eye, okay? I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Because once I get all of this cut around the eye, good girl, I can work on the bigger stuff. I focus on the details. Good girl. Okay, and right in here, I'm going to save for a little later. Remember when we were shaving on part 1, I did kind of an inverted V, and we're going to use our thinning shears to make that a little more falling into the top knot. Okay, so we got our eyeballs. I'm going to check and see. We want to make sure nothing's falling above that line of eyeball. Good girl. Okay, same on this side. Checking. Good girl. Okay, so then I go on to the transition part. So right here, this is where we have a shaved area, right? And then it's going to go into the top knot. This is where I'm going to start cutting around toward the ear. I use my safety scissors because they have a blunt edge. And then right here, I have an option to either do this with my scissors or also incorporate, which makes it a little easier to blend this line, my blenders. A lot of groomers prefer to do this with scissors only, but I wanted to show you both options. Okay, and we don't want to go too sharp. Okay, see, this is the line that we want to follow. That's the zygomatic arch. That's basically the cheekbone, which is going to show us that we want to come out just a little bit, and then you can picture the dome is going to follow. Okay. Since I have my blenders really handy, I'm just going to take a little bit more. We want this line to be nice and tight. Okay. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Good girl. And we can come from this end. The whole idea being that we're starting from short and going and tapering up a little bit. And keep using that comb to see where you are. Okay. Now I've set that a little bit. You have to lift the ear to get that. Then I'm going to set right now her bigger bang. So I did her close-up bang. This I just want to make sure I can see her expression. I'm going to work a lot more on this section later. Here we go. And guys, there's no like easy equation for this. This is really just understanding your proportions, understanding your patterns, and using your equipment in the proper way. Okay, so I told you I work around. The big thing about poodles is that their ears get cut out from their top knot. So it's going to be top knot and then ear. I'm going to show you how to do that after we work on the back. But some people, just so you're aware, like that fall without the cutouts. So just be aware that some customers, if you're working professionally, are going to ask you just to do a round dome that comes into the ears. But today we are going to do a proper poodle cutout of that dome. Okay. Told you I wasn't going to use any clippers today. I kind of lied for this part because I left this, guys, for you. Every groomer, and if you're grooming at home, has the option of how far back they want to set their blend lines for your top knot. For poodles, we have a few options. Some people like to set it really far back. I did her body with a 1, so I just want to show you that. I have an option of creating a V and ending it up right here. This goes farther back. This is the occiput. If you guys know how to groom Shih Tzus or other dogs like that, puppy cuts, we start the headpiece at the occiput, which is this bone right here. For poodles, we are going to leave more, okay, coat behind. But where we end that coat can either come into a V or it can come into just this straight stop. For Rosie, because she's a little older, let's just do a straight stop. Just understanding that we're going to be blending this into the back line with our scissors. Okay. See, so I'm leaving kind of a little bit of a shelf. Okay, and now that that's done, I'm going to bring some of my fine scissors, so not my safety scissors. Puff, puff, puff. A lot of the things that you do in grooming, especially with poodles, is you're going to be puffing that up. So I am taking my curves and just scissoring this blend, going really tight behind the ears. Okay. Don't worry about this shelf here. We are going to be doing this Move this over a little bit. Little bit of a knot. Didn't get them all apparently. Okay, so puff, puff. Okay, again, shaping this up. Now remember I said you can kind of use your straights for this work. I just want to show you guys real fast. Got some straight shears. And this really works nice if you want to get this nice blended area. Your straights can do a great job on this back of the neck area. Okay. All right. And everything that we're setting, we're going to refine a little later. Especially because Rosie's kind of turning her head. She's had a long day. That's okay. We're almost there, baby girl. Okay. So now that I've set my eyeballs, I've set the front bang, which I'm going to work on more. Okay. I've set the back. Okay, sweetheart. Good girl. Okay. Now I can start shaping. Okay. So remember I told you that those ears are cut out from those from the head part? Okay, let me make sure I get through all of this really nicely with a fine-tooth comb. Okay, we're puff, puff, puff. Okay, and we see where those ears are. We already set that line right here. So we just continue that line. And we can make that as severe as we want to. This is groomer's choice. Okay, so we can make that really nice, severe. Some people, especially with German cuts, when they shave the ear, make this very, very severe. Make it stand really, really up. So just know that that is an option. And then I'm leaving her a little more rounded because I don't shave her feet. She has that more of a bare appearance. So I am going to cut them out, but not severely. Okay, you can see we're starting to kind of shape. So we're going to start doing that on the other side as well. Remember, here's the line that I set a little earlier. Let's tighten that a little bit up. Okay, and then with my shears, I cut out the ear. Okay. Good. And again, how severe this is groomer's choice and artist's choice, really. Everything, every groomer kind of has their signature look for their top knots. I'm going to take her off of this because she's a good girl. But guys, if you're working with a dog that is jumpy, make sure that you are securing them. A nice little option here is I have my jelly pet. I can actually secure her to this as well. And that's not pulling on the top part. Okay. So now that we've got this set, I want this to be a little even. I'm looking at this side. I see this side's a little more poofy. So I'm going to take that in. I also want to make sure that these sides are matching. I'm going to take my blenders, get that down a little bit more. See how I'm angling with the tip facing into the dog? Obviously safely, but I want this to kind of round out. Okay, and if you guys see me using my blenders, you'll see me bouncing my fingers a lot more in my hands. With thinners, bouncing is a little bit different because you're blending through, whereas with your scissors, when you're making cuts, keep finding mats in here, my goodness. Yeah, but with your scissors, when you're making cuts, you cannot bounce or you're gonna put holes in that coat. Won't get the desired effect. Okay. Still see things here, heavy here. Okay. Looking good. So this back line, I mean, a little bit refinements, but it's starting to come together. So all I've got left is this thing, right? So remember that measurement that we did with our other, unfortunately, the broken comb, but this one at least has an inch measurement, okay, from this to this. Okay, we're looking at this. So she's a little high. I've let her grow out. And she's also kind of light coated. So I want to take her down a little bit. Guys, my little hint is I'm right-handed. I always set my pattern for my top knot with my side that's harder. Because if I set it with my harder side, it's easier for me to match up with my good hand. So I'm going to do her right side, which is my left side first. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to chop off anything that doesn't look like a poodle top knot to me. I know that sounds kind of easy to say, and you do it in rows, but really you want to have in your mind's eye the shape that you want, right? You also want that proper technique, and you want to keep puffing that up so you don't miss anything. Okay. You can see I'm going to go side to side here. Remember, I'm saving that right side to match up with my left side, which will be a lot easier than doing it the opposite way, the converse way. Okay. So as you can see, I'm kind of chopping, and taking a look at where I am. Oops. Okay. Taking down a little bit more. Good girl. Okay. Good girl. Okay, so now I'm going to match it on the right side. I want to take that two down. Okay, here we go. Carving that nice back end to flow into the neck. Good girl, good girl. Okay. Now I want to look at this top knot from all angles, so I'm going to look at it from the top. I can see where I need to work on this here. You want it to be a nice oval shape from the top. You want the sides to come into the back very nicely. Okay. We want those ears to be cut out, gently flowed. Okay. And then we just keep finessing until we're getting the shape that we want. Guys, no shortcuts on this, unfortunately. It really is going to be skill and practice on how you hold those scissors, and also the practice that you have looking at shapes, understanding what shape you want to get with your top knot. Right, guys, I just see a few little scragglers. See that right here? Just take that down. Now, there are techniques where you can put, you basically comb all of the top knot to one side, all of the top knot to the other. I definitely know that that technique works really well for a lot of people. And if you keep checking, you kind of want to see where it's going to flop to. You're going to get that same effect. Okay, you guys seeing what I'm seeing? A little bit here, and then right here, heavy. And you want to just keep puffing up that hair to make sure that all of it is found. Good girl. Okay. Good girl. Okay. And guys, one last thing with my thinning shears, this is where I'm just going to kind of control what is happening right here. Because I know I shaved in part one, but I want to make sure that that is a really nice little visor. Okay, round it out. You can see that shape. Nice little oval. That's a good girl. Well, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this workshop. I know there was a lot of details. Grooming is not easy, so thank you for your patience, and thanks for your interest to delve deeper on these subjects with us so that you can groom your pets, or on your professional pet grooming journey, know exactly what you need to do. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope that this workshop, part one and part two, helps you get a good idea of how to do a poodle head. I know we didn't talk about ears. I will save that for another subject because I want to make sure that the lessons that we're going through are impactful and you can focus and practice on, a particular subject at a time. Guys, thanks so much for joining. Thank you for that thumbs up if you like this video. Thanks for subscribing. We really do appreciate your time. Thank you, Rosie, for your patience. Guys, any questions, comments? Thanks for putting them down below. We are listening, and we'll see you soon.